and that was an absolute disaster. And he's sold. I 10 out of 10 do not recommend. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Chris, and this is my first market recap video. It is the Monday after the market. I took the day off of work today, which I'm really glad that I did that. I definitely needed to kind of get a bunch of stuff in order, clean some things up, and kind of just recover from the weekend. I debated a lot about how I wanted to structure this video. There's all different styles of doing market recaps. Spoiler alert, I did not really film much at the market. There was a lot going on, and I just didn't want to pressure myself at that point to try to vlog at the same time. So I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I decided I'm going to break the video into 4 parts. I'll leave timestamps, so if you want to skip around, you can certainly do that, or if you don't want to hear certain parts, you can just go to what you're interested in. But what I'm going to do is first just talk a little bit about the market itself, the overall information about the market. Second, I'm going to go through all of the items that I brought to the market, what sold and what didn't sell. Third, I'll go through the money, so what the totals were, all the fees and all that good stuff. And then finally, I'll go over any lessons learned, things I'm going to be changing up for the next market, and things that I'm going to be leaving the same. This market was called the Fall Harvest Craft Fair, and I believe it's its 25th year. It's an indoor market that's held inside of a convention center. The company that puts it on is called POTTC, and they put on 4 events a year within this particular convention center. There's a big focus on family fun around their events. We went to their event in July, which was called Halfway to Christmas, and they had a whole Christmas area set up with Santa Claus and stuff like that. So it's a very kind of family-friendly environment. The admission is $7 per person to get into the craft fair, and the hours are from 10 to 4 on Saturday and 10 to 4 on Sunday. They did have a time where you could come and check in on Friday from 12:30 to 5:30, so you could set up anything that you wanted to do. The craft fair was an hour and change away from my home, but I did decide to go over on Friday so that I could see my spot. I could bring some of the big items like my tent frame, my tables, and things like that, and just kind of get some stuff positioned so that I could buy myself a little time, because on Saturday, we were allowed to come in at 7:30 and we had to be done setting up by 9:30, and then the market opened at 10. One of the other really big reasons why I wanted to go on Friday is they don't confirm where your spot is until you go check in. So you're allowed to kind of request what you're looking for, but it may or may not be assigned to you depending on what they do and how they shift around their vendors and things like that. There were about 150 vendors set for this market, and it was interesting because the map had changed. So I showed you guys a while back, there was this creepy corner section, and that was geared more towards if you were selling a lot of Halloween goods. There was going to be, you know, that kind of family fun area for everyone to go in and take a look at. And I didn't quite feel like I had enough stuff that was Halloween geared. So I wanted to be kind of creepy corner adjacent. So I had asked if I could please have spot 103. I wasn't sure if I was going to be getting it. So that was another reason why I kind of wanted to go on Friday so I could confirm that. And if I wasn't and needed to figure out, you know, reworking the direction I'm facing my tables or anything like that, I could do that, you know, ahead of time. When we got the email saying we could check in, it really reinforced the fact that I wanted to go because Creepy Corner had changed. It expanded to creepy entire side of the building. So I wasn't sure if I got squeaked out of Creepy Corner or if I was going to get the spot that I had requested. Let me show you the map because I think it's kind of interesting to see what they ended up doing. So this is the before map where it shows Creepy Corner. And this is the map that we got on Thursday saying we could come check in on Friday. So as you can see, Creepy Corner expanded quite a bit. And what's even more interesting is once we got there, I came to realize that it was not at all what I expected. So I'm going to show you here. I'm going to outline an area here, and I want to tell you that none of these areas were vendors. So this entire section that I just outlined was actually all just fun stuff for the families. My booth did end up being 103 right here. There was no vendor behind me. It was a bunch of inflatables, and there were no vendors across from me. It was literally right next to my booth. There was a giant archway for people to come through. And then there was another giant archway here, and all along here were just inflatables and decorations. They also had the Fright Fest, I think it's called, people. There's a big haunted house area that happens in this city. So they had a bunch of actors that were in costume and walking around and, scaring people and stuff like that. So it was pretty cool. But yeah, that whole section had no one in it. It was all decoration and all, these actors and things like that. So I was really grateful for the fact that it was so open. I did end up having to kind of reposition the direction I thought I was going to be facing. I kind of thought, I have the open corner, but I'd be facing more out towards the aisle versus towards that section. But they had that big archway there. So people would come in from the front door, make that left because they would see all of the cool Halloween stuff and circle around, and then you would end up right at my booth essentially. And while a lot of people did go through the archway so that they could go experience all the Halloween stuff, they saw what we had and it did catch a lot of their eyes, and they would come circle back around. So that was pretty cool. So this is kind of the setup that I had for the booth on day one. I turned everything kind of sideways so that you would approach it more from the side than what I originally thought was the front. I set up all the stuff very similar to what I did in my practice setup, with the change of the fact that I had to shift everything around. The backdrop that was behind the left side of the booth with the two eyes on it was something that they had put in place, and they put the black curtains up because behind that they had the, inflatables and stuff like that. So it was actually kind of cool because I didn't have to put my tent walls up or anything to kind of section myself off. All right, let's get into what I brought to the market, what sold and what didn't sell. Now, I am going to pop the pictures up as I go through these. I'm going to go pretty quickly, and I'm not going to go through the pattern designers. I did all of that as I talked about these items in my past videos, and I will have them all linked in the Google Drive below. So if you want to check any of those patterns out, you can do that there. And I'm definitely going to be looking at my computer so that I can give you the information and we can just kind of get through this as quickly and efficiently as possible. So bear with me if I'm looking down at the screen to go through everything with you. So I thought we would first go through the Halloween specific stuff. This is stuff that I made particularly to have for kind of a Halloween focus. And I was not sure if it was going to sell well or not sell well, but because I was in Creepy Corner and there was this big theme to the market, I wanted to make sure that I had enough stuff that kind of supported that. All right, when it comes to Halloween minis, I brought 5 of each candy corn, bat, and ghost minis, and then I had 2 mini pumpkins. Out of the 5 candy corns, I sold 4. Out of the 5 bats, I sold 4. Out of the 5 ghosts, I sold 4. And out of the 2 pumpkins, I sold 1. Next up, for kind of the larger size plushies, I had 3 of the baby demigorgons for $15 each, and I sold 2 of those. I had 3 of the Bat Buddies, which I had priced at $20, and I sold 1 of those. It was the purple one. I had 4 of the FNAF characters, so Five Nights at Freddy's. I had 2 Bonnies and 2 of the Freddy Fazbear characters. I was selling those for $20 each, and all 4 of those sold. In hindsight, I think I had those priced a little too low, so I will probably increase that in the future. And originally I had those as like Halloween items, but I definitely think I'm going to bring them at least to the next market because that market is in November, and I believe the new movie for Five Nights at Freddy's is going to be coming out shortly after that market. So I'm going to make a few more of those to bring to that market just in case those sell as well. I had the capybara in the ghost costume for $18 and he sold. I had a giant cauldron turtle for $45 that did not sell. I had a really small one-off chunky bat that I made for $7 and that sold. I had the one devil bear that I had priced at $18 and that sold. I had 2 of the Frankenstein's snugglers. Those did not sell. Those were $30. I had 3 of the little ghost plushies for $10 each and 1 of those sold. I had 3 of the ghost wisps and 1 of those sold for $10. I had 2 of the Ghoulie Pops priced at $12 and 1 of those sold. I had the Plague Doctor plushie for $20 and he sold. And I brought two of the Shadow Man that I had priced at $30, but one of those I gave as a door prize for the raffle. What they would do is every hour they would draw two names and then someone could come up and pick the prize. And if for some reason no one chose yours by the end of the market at 3 p.m. on Sunday, in that drawing, then you could go pick your item back up again. Not gonna lie, part of me was hoping nobody chose him because I wanted him back. I had two people come by the booth looking for the one that had sold and were like, can we buy the one that's up front? And, you know, I couldn't sell it to them because it had already been donated. It did end up getting chosen, so I didn't get to take him back. And I'm considering making some more of those because he does kind of go with the whole Nightmare Before Christmas vibes. So I'll probably make one or two more of him for my next market. I had that one-off little skull for $8 that did not sell. I had two of the Spider Bops for $12 and one of those sold. I had three voodoo dolls for $15 each and all three of those sold. People really loved those guys and they were just having the blast with the pins, poking them in and out and stuff like that. So it was great. I had five of the zombies for $10 each and sold two of those. I had the one zombie kitty for $22 and that sold. And then I had my really large kind of showstopper dragon zombie priced at $60 and he did not sell. So altogether, I had 56 Halloween themed items, of which 35 sold. So about 63% of my Halloween inventory went, which I was pretty happy with. All right, let's get into what I consider my staple items, items that I kind of want to have around at all times. First up would be the minis again, because that was something that I definitely knew was going to sell pretty well. I had 10 of each of the minis at $5 each. I had the 10 capybara, 5 of those sold, 10 chickens, 6 of those sold, 10 axolotls, 9 of those sold. I had the 10 frogs, 6 of those sold, 10 opossums, and all 10 of those sold. I had 8 actually of the sitting bees and those sold because I had taken the other 2 and put them in the mystery bag charms. So all of those sold. And I will definitely say that the opossums and the sitting bees would have 100% sold way more of those if I had them. I had so many people circle back and want to pick them up and then they were, you know, all gone. So definitely going to be making more of those in the future. And I think I'm going to be adding some items to my minis repertoire. I'm planning on adding some rats, and several people asked if there were any mini cats. A few people bought mystery bag charms just to try to get the cat. So I do think I am going to add some mini little loaf style cats to my minis bin in the future. And that brings us to the mystery bag charms. I had 10 of those priced at $12 each. And I had a little sign up with one in actual size that kind of explained that the hardware and crystal colors could be different on each one. And I sold all 10 of them for the $12. This is something that I'm definitely going to be bringing a lot more of next time. I had one person that came back and I think she bought like 3 or 4 of them because she was like addicted to it. So, and she came back the second day looking for 2 more, but they had sold out, by the time she got back. So she didn't get to get more, but, and I think what I'm going to do for the next market is I'm going to have maybe 5 or 8 of them that are special holiday edition ones. So you can buy the regular mystery bag charm or you can buy a holiday edition one. And I'm thinking of doing some of those Poggy Place holiday characters inside. And I'm thinking about adding a few elements to the mystery bag charms, like a few little, you know, charms and things that hang from it that aside from the crystals, just to kind of zhuzh it up a little bit. And I might even end up bringing the price point up, but right now I'm pretty happy with the 12 and all 10 of those selling. All right, I have a lot of staple items aside from the minis, so we'll get churning through those. I had 5 axolotls for $10 each and I sold 2. I had 4 baby dragons. I had those priced at $22 and those did not sell. I had 2 of the baby forest spirits for $35 and those did not sell. I brought 8 of the rainbow caterpillars and I had those priced at $10 and they did not sell. They didn't really even get much of a look. I wasn't planning on making those again anyway, so these will just keep coming with me to markets until they do eventually hopefully sell. I had the one chanterelle, if I'm saying that right, mushroom, priced at $18, and he did not sell, but he did get a lot of attention. I had Darth the Dragon priced at $22, and he did sell. I had 10 of the fidget worms for $5 each, and 3 of those sold. I brought a fly garlic mushroom priced at $18, and he sold. And then I had my Forest Guardian with the rainbow and Naughty Pony that I way overpriced at $125 and did not expect him to sell, and he did not sell. And I actually ended up pulling him off of the shelf the second day because he was getting a lot of attention. However, one of the safety eyes popped loose a little bit. I was able to get it clipped back in, but it made me nervous because if someone even did decide, yeah, I'm going to pay $100 for that thing, I was not going to have someone go home with something that could pop like that. So I pulled him down and he's just living his best life on my shelf, and that's where he's going to stay. I had my Frogdrick for $18 and he sold, and I actually had one of the other vendors come to the booth looking for him and was really upset that he sold. So she is going to message me and I'm going to make another one for her and get that sent out to her. I had 10 of the googly-eyed monsters for $7 each, and 2 of those sold. I had 3 of the hatching dragons for $18 each, and all 3 of those sold. I had my little Will for $35, and she sold. I had loaf cats in a range of $15 to $18. I had brought 8 of them and 4 of them sold. I had 4 Mabel chickens for $10 each, and 1 of those sold. I had a little misfit owl that was something I just didn't plan on making again. I had him priced at $8 and he sold. I had 3 of the Monty Moths for $12 each, and none of those sold. I had 3 Mothman for $10 each, and 1 of those sold. I originally had that as my Halloween item, but I decided that I like cryptids and I want to have some cryptids at my table, so I'm going to keep him as a staple and keep putting him out along with some others that I have in mind. I don't know if there's patterns out there for them, but we'll figure that out as time goes on. I had 1 of the Mulberry for $18 and he did not sell. I had 2 of my popping mushroom hat dolls for $30 each, and those sold. I had 3 Mushy Boys for $8 each, and 1 of those sold. I had 11 Mushy Pops for $7 each, and 2 of those sold. I had 4 opossum snugglers, 3 of them priced at $22, 1 priced at $30. 2 of the $22 ones sold. I had 3 of my owls at $8 each. None of those sold. I had the penny bun mushroom for $18 and it sold. I had the purple pup, which was one of my original makes, for $18, which did not sell. For rats, I had 3 different sizes. I had 5 of the baby rats that I was selling for $8 each, and 3 of those sold. I had 3 medium-sized rats that I was selling for $10 each, and 2 of those sold. And then I had 1 large rat for $12, which sold. I had a raven for $10 and he did not sell. And I realized that I actually have a pricing issue there. I have the owls at $8 each. They're the exact same pattern and they actually have a little bit better of an eye in them than the raven. So I'm not sure why I ended up pricing him at 10, but I'm going to look at those and see what I want to do. If I want to do 10 for all of those or 8 for all of those and circle back and fix that. I had 1 sitting kitty for $18 and that sold like right away. People loved that. And someone actually came back asking about it and it was gone. I had 1 snake for $12 and that sold. I had 4 spiders for $15 and 1 of those sold. I had the little forest sprites. I had 1 that was $7 that was really tiny, made in Parfait Chunky, and the rest were all in Bernat for $12. So I had 4 total, and 1 of the larger ones sold. I had 6 of the what I call Stardew shaped chickens for $10 each, and 2 of those sold. They were not the Stardew Valley blue color. It was just the random colors. I brought 6 of the stress balls and I was selling those for $5 each. And that was an absolute disaster. I've mentioned before a couple times probably that something was telling me that these are not a good idea and to not bring them, but I went ahead and brought them anyway. And the events of the day told me I need to stick to my gut. There is nothing wrong with them when you play with them as intended. But I ended up quickly pulling these off the shelf in the beginning of day one. At some point, we had a huge crowd. I did not see it. Someone burst one of them and the stuff was all over the place. Thankfully, it didn't get on any plushies or anything. And then, I was hesitant to leave them, but I was like, I'm just going to sell the ones I have. They're only $5. Maybe they'll go. I'll never do them again. And then a little later, a little girl was playing with one. And when the stuff comes out of the front, she grabbed it, I believe. I didn't see her again, and it shot all down her arm. Because if you mess with the stuff that comes out the front, it's going to burst. So I gave her paper towels and I had wet wipes with me. She got all cleaned up. I'm pretty confident that they were going to buy something and they decided not to buy something after that happened, and I don't blame them. So I apologize profusely. She was upset and she was like, "I'm so sorry." I said, "Don't worry about it. It's not anything, don't be sorry. It should not have broken on you. I apologize to you, but yeah, that was a disaster. So those got pulled off the shelf right after that and will never be returning to the markets again. I 10 out of 10 do not recommend. All right, back to the inventory. So I had 5 toads for $10 and one of those sold. I had my really large willow dragon priced at $80 and he sold. I was so excited when that happened. I told the guy he made my day. His girlfriend, wife, whoever it was with him was eyeballing it. He was buying a possum. He was really excited for the little possum. And then she walked around the table to go see the dragon from the other side, and he reached over and set it on the counter. And I was like, are you sure you're making my day? So that was pretty awesome. I also brought 7 of the wisps. One of them was the little $7 one. The rest are all the ones for $12 with the glowing eyes. And I sold 2 of the ones with the glowing eyes. Quick side note, because we just talked about the wisps. On the second day of the market, I changed up the look of the tables a little bit. I wanted to kind of have this experience when you're looking at the table and see different things all over. I don't love when stuff's bucketed, The minis, yes. I wanted to have a few things kind of sectioned together, but I didn't want it to be where it's like, here's all this, here's all that, here's all this, and here's all that, like at a grocery store kind of thing. I wanted to have things intermingling. I wanted mushrooms everywhere, that whole forest fairy garden feeling. And I definitely think I had that going the first day, but there were things that I wanted to change up just based on the traffic patterns and stuff the second day. So the look of my booth changed for day 2. And then I also ended up putting all of the wisps on their own shelf with a sign that said that their eyes glow, because the few people who realized that got very excited about it and ended up purchasing them. So I wanted to kind of have that at the forefront for them. And I'm probably going to invest in a little black light that can kind of shine up on them, to show that their eyes glow. Mr. Skane always has a flashlight with him and it does have a black light on it. So he would shine it across their eyes so that people could see how they glow. And that got people really excited. So I'm definitely going to be adding that to kind of how I set them up in the future going forward. So altogether, I brought 211 staple items and sold 101 of those, which is 48% of my staple items. If we tally the Halloween and the staple items, I brought a total of 267 items and sold 136 items, which is 51% of my inventory. So I am super pleased with that. All right, let's get into the money because that's what everybody wants to hear about, right? So my total retail sales for everything for the market for both days was $1,459. Of that, $1,053 was card, $394 was cash, and I had one $12 transaction with Venmo. There were 88 total transactions, so for an average about $16.58 per sale. All right, let's go through all the fees that are going to come out of that. So out of the $1,459, I will be deducting and paying $95.50 in taxes, $35.91 in square fees, And then the booth fee was $250. It's $200 for the event, and I paid an extra $50 for the corner. And it was an extra $50 well spent, especially seeing as the corner that I got and that there was nobody on the other side. So that was definitely $50 well spent. So altogether, my net after that is going to be $1,077.59. Now, that does not include material costs, obviously. I am going to go through that list and break down all of those material costs. And in my next video, I'm going to let you know what adjustments I'm making to how I'm calculating my prices, because there will be some. And I'm just going to go through, whether or not I was comfortable with how that turned out. I haven't looked at the material costs yet, so we're going to break that down in the next video if that's something that you're interested in. All right, let's talk a little bit about lessons learned and things I'm going to be changing for the next market or keeping the same. One of the things I realized was I had created a little scan sheet for my minis because I did kind of want to track which ones were selling, how many I had left, and my hope was that I could really rely on that inventory of what sold versus what I have to kind of reconcile everything. And the way I set up that scan sheet just kind of had the barcodes in a row down. When things got hectic, we were scanning the wrong one by accident. So I would ring up a capybara when it was really a chicken or whatever. So I'm going to stagger those barcodes so that they're away from each other on the page so that we don't get them too close to each other and scan the wrong thing. My inventory was pretty spot on when I reconciled today, except for the stuff that I scanned in the book. So I'm going to be adjusting that page. By the way, if you want information on how I generated the barcodes and how I'm ringing everybody up and stuff like that, let me know in the comments down below and I can make a separate video about that. I'm still trying to figure things out, but I was pretty pleased with how everything went, and it was so quick to ring everyone up and process the transactions that piece I'm probably not going to change going forward. So if that's something you're interested in, just let me know and I can certainly make a video about that. One of the things I'm going to change up a little bit, I already kind of mentioned, and that's bucketing a few things more together. I still want that experience of things being kind of intertwined and scattered a bit. But like I mentioned with the wisps coming together, I think I'm going to keep doing that in the future markets to just kind of highlight some of those features of those unique items. My signs are also going to evolve a little bit. I don't like the font and how it read from far away. So I'm going to be changing those up a little bit so that it's a little more clear. I liked how clear the price was, but on something like the glow eyes and things like that, I just want a font that stands out a little more. And I can even make the price a little smaller on something like that because I want to highlight the feature more so than the cost. Whereas on the minis, I want to highlight the fact that they're just $5. Another thing that I need to change is taking a step back and looking at this business as a whole. So I realized I screwed up a few things. And one of which is not really giving my Etsy shop enough love during this whole time in market prep. And I'm going to be honest, I'm probably not going to do that again between this and the next market because it's a time crunch. But, I hadn't realized until after my large willow dragon sold that I still have him up on Etsy. So if someone had purchased that dragon for some strange reason on Etsy in that moment, it would not have been very good luck because it would have taken me a lot to reproduce him. I don't have the same yarn anymore. And my turnaround set on Etsy is for plushies that I already had made. So I need to kind of take a step back, look at what I have posted on Etsy. Also, my pricing needs to adjust on Etsy because I did that pricing exercise where I know what my retails are and I have the formula set up for Etsy as well. But the stuff that I have listed is not priced in such a way that it's going to get me the net that I want on each of those items in Etsy. So yeah, I just need to take a step back. This market made me realize those things because also I had someone who really wanted a chunky cat with white and black. So I gave her my card, which links to Etsy, and told her to message me and I would get her one. But on Etsy, I have that chunky cat listing already up there and it's $15 on Etsy. I was selling them for $15 at market, but they should be more on Etsy because of the Etsy fees and shipping is included in everything that I have on Etsy. So she believes it's $15 because she saw it for $15 at the market. She sees it for $15 on Etsy. And now I've got to make her one for $15, which it's fine. She's a customer. She bought at the market and she's buying something else. But again, it's just one of those things that is a lesson learned that I need to make some changes and I need to kind of look at the overall for this whole business. The next thing that I'm going to change is listening to my gut. I knew those stress balls were not a good idea. I turned away a potential customer. There may have even been a potential customer when the first little disaster happened, but the crowd was so large, I didn't see it happen. So I don't know if that person got stuff on them or what happened. It left me feeling awful. And I do not want that to happen again. So in the future going forward, if something is telling me this is not the way to go, I am going to listen to that voice and I'm not going to go down that route. And last but not least is something I'm actually not going to be changing, and that is what's me. I had so many compliments at this market and people telling me, I came back to your booth because it was unlike any other booth here that had crochet. There were 5 other strictly crochet vendors at this market, and then there were at least 2 more that sold crochet items amongst other things that they were selling. So there was a lot of competition at this market when it comes to buying crochet plushies. The other 5 vendors were all had plushies, by the way. It wasn't like, wearables or something like that. I don't consider that competition because it's a totally different genre of crochet. And I have this photo where this is my perspective sitting in my chair. And while I had this primo spot of people coming in, once you were in, right here was another crochet plushie vendor. It's hard to see in the photo. And right here, 2 booths down from her was another crochet plushie vendor. I did make a point of getting up and going and meeting as many of them as I could in the morning before everything opened up, because I just kind of wanted to, see how they were. One of them was very much of like, you're my competition. One of them was super chill. I don't know anyone in my area that crochets, so I just kind of wanted to introduce myself. I think it went okay, but it's fine. I get it. Like, we are competition, and I understand that my sales take away from them and their sales could take away from me. But our overlap was not really heavy. Did I lose some sales because of that? Absolutely. I had people come to my booth and go, do you have a stitch? They have a stitch. I don't have a stitch. But you know what? I would much rather not have those sales and have the ones that came to me with those compliments and saying, I came back here because no one else has these things, that it solidified for me that doing the things that I love to make comes out. It shows. Like, people enjoyed and purchased things that I didn't expect the general public to want to do, but they did. And yeah, so I don't know. It just really reinforced the fact that I'm going to make the stuff I love. I'm going to be me, people were referring to me as the lady with the purple hair, the booth with the purple hair or whatever, and it's just, that's cool. I couldn't be happier with the overall end result, the experience itself. The venue was clean. The people were great that worked there. I will definitely be doing this market again next year. But yeah, that's kind of my whole market recap experience. I don't know if this is the style of video that you like. I do want to try to vlog more when actually at the market. I'm just not there yet. Bear with me. I'll get there. But if you have any feedback on the style of this video, or what, we don't need to see the whole list of what you brought, just told us what sold, or whatever it is, give that to me. I want to definitely create videos that you all enjoy as well. So, but yeah, for a first market experience, I don't think I could have asked for anything more. It was great. And it really just solidified the fact that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I love this. I'm going to continue to do this. And speaking of that, my next market is in 7 weeks. So I am going to take some time this afternoon to sit down and come up with a list of all the things I want to make. I definitely know there's going to be minis on that list. I definitely know there's going to be bag charms on that list because those sold so well. But I also want to make some holiday themed items and just fill in a couple of the gaps of some of the, core staple items that do well. But yeah, so with that being said, I'm going to get cracking on that. That is what I have for you today. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.